Now, coming up in the future, we're going to have ourselves an election. Yep. Comes up in November. Lots of great reasons to vote. We know QE is going to be on the ballot. We know Booze on Sunday is going to be on the ballot. We also know the mayoral race will be on the ballot and Valdosta city council races. There's 4 races happening, including city council at large. We got a guy in here right now who wants to take that job. His name is Matt Flumerfelt. Good morning to you, Matt.
Frank, thanks for having me on, and I want to say that I do appreciate your highly paid professionalism.
I appreciate you coming on in, Matt. How you now you are first before we get into the race itself. You have announced you can't file the paperwork just yet.
Right.
You got to do that in August. But you're coming out on record
I have
saying
come out and saying that I'm running for the at-large city council.
You want the job. Okay, before we get into the seat itself and policy position, stuff like that, tell us, for people who don't know who you are, who's Matt Flumerfelt? What's your background?
Well, Frank, you know, you were here when I started to run for county commission last time and couldn't because I was trying to run as an independent. Mm-hmm. And I get to run as an independent this time because city council is a nonpartisan position.
That's right.
And if I get elected, I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican, I'm a Valdosta city council person. I belong to the Valdosta party. I've been living in Valdosta since '82, worked at a variety of jobs. I'm a healthcare provider. I've worked in mental health. I sell tarps for American Canvas products. I'm a writer and a musician. People know me from playing around town for years and years. So I've been here a long time.
Yeah, you're one of those guys. How do I phrase this? That when people see, it's like, oh yeah, I know that guy because you're like everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
My wife hates to go shopping with me because people stop me in the store.
And here's the thing. So you're running for this. I've got to ask, city council at large, was there a reason why you wanted that seat? Because as we all know, they do half the seats in one election cycle, the other half the next time. Did you look at the at large and say, that's the one for me? Because this is a huge chunk of territory you got to cover.
Well, it's the only one I can run for because my district's not up. I'm in District 6, and I was going to think about running for it last time, but I said I don't want to turn around a year from now and have to run for it again, which is just exactly what Ben Norton's having to do. Mm-hmm. And so it was available, it's open, and, you know, it covers the whole city.
All right, let's talk about the issues, because a lot of people will look at this and go, oh, why do you want to hop into politics? So that begs the question, Matt, why do you want to hop into politics? What's going on?
Well, I live here, and I want to make Valdosta, you know, keep it a great place and make it a better place.
Mm-hmm. Are there certain issues you're looking at? Is it like the biomass plant or ethics or transportation or, you know, business development? What are some of the key issues that you bring to the table?
Well, I originally got involved in this because of the biomass fight, the fight against biomass. I plan to use the city council run as a platform, you know, to talk about that and why that's not a good idea for this community. But there's a lot of issues. I think that Valdosta is growing. I think we got to get prepared for the next round of growth. We need to work on infrastructure. I want to work on beautification myself and move Valdosta more towards tourism and away from heavy industry. Tourists spend a lot of money, and if they stop off here on the way to Florida, we'd like them to stay, shop, eat, spend money, and then go wherever they're going.
You know, and you bring up a fascinating point. I went to Tampa this last vacation. I was down there last month, and it's like, okay, let's go to Tampa. A lot of people knew Valdosta. But Valdosta, I'm not trying to slam Valdosta, but the perception is we're basically where you gas up and you keep on going through.
Well, I worked at restaurants, you know, as a piano player for years, and I would see the same people passing through every year. They would stop at whatever restaurant and say, oh, we stop here every time we pass through here. We just love this place. We always come to this restaurant or whatever. People do know Valdosta, and they remember certain places that they went where they had a good time, had a good meal and whatnot.
And it's like they remember that. It's like, yeah, but come on, we'd like you to stay. We'd like to hang out longer.
Yeah. I'd like to see the Doc Holliday Saloon actually get some traction downtown. You know, we need to have some place for them to stay. You know, if they stay a week or 2 weeks, that's more money they spend here too.
Yeah. Now, as we're looking at this, we're talking about economic development. It always comes back to jobs. It seems like that's the big mantra. You can talk about Washington, talk about Atlanta, or talk about Valdosta. Jobs are the key. So, are there ways to grow businesses, or let's talk about the businesses you're talking about bringing in? How do we expand tourism? What, you know, are there some elements that you're just saying we could do better at?
Well, I think we have to have more for them here, and there again, making Valdosta a beautiful place with parks and, you know, things to do. The Performing Arts Center that's going to be coming here. We've got to have things for them to do once they get here. But jobs, you know, I see all these retailers and restaurateurs struggling. And, you know, a biomass plant that employs 25 people is not going to help the retailers and restaurateurs as much as people up and down the highway that stop to shop and eat. Those are the businesses that I'm most concerned about right now because they're struggling. Many of them are closing, and we got to find a way to prop them up.
And in the effort of full disclosure here, let me point something out that we talked just 5 minutes ago before we were on the air, and we were talking about biomass. And even though you're more of an anti-biomass guy and I'm more of a pro, let's see what sticks, we're actually not that far apart because we're both saying let's find some better energy sources out there.
Yeah, I'm not saying that biomass is altogether bad, but for this community, we have better options. So let's take our best option. We have to lead. I think we have a vacuum of leadership in this country. And so I think we need to lead the clean, green energy efficiency movement.
Let's talk about downtown Valdosta, because downtown Valdosta, I know there's a lot of work. You're passionate about being down there. You've been through there. I've seen you down there. What are some of the things, like, if we're looking at downtown Valdosta, for example, like I think the little, the food grower, the farm thing they have every other weekend, I like that, and I want to see more things like that come to that area.
Yeah, I love the farmers market, but there again, the downtown's not really thriving. You go down there and people just seem like they're hanging on by the skin of their teeth, and I'd like to see that change. I don't know how we could make it change, but once I get on city council, I think I'll see options things that I can support to help throw some business down there.
Now I've got to ask you this, Matt Flumerfelt, by the way, he's the guy running. He's announced it. Can't file the paperwork yet, but he's letting people know, hey, I'm going to be running for this at large city council seat. Matt, I've got to ask you this because it's a standard thing. It seems like we have a city of Valdosta, we have a county of Lowndes. Sometimes they get along. A lot of times we're fighting tooth and nail, which is, I mean, from my viewpoint, it's a lot of fun because they get to talk about them, but they don't always get along. What do you bring to the table? I mean, can you work with these guys, or how do you position yourself in working with Lowndes County?
Well, I know most of them. I can work with them, but I don't see competition as such a bad thing. People seem to think that if everything gets unified, that it's going to run a lot better. Have you ever noticed how bands, they might fight among themselves, but they do great music, and then when they split up and go their own ways and have their individual careers, they kind of really don't make good music. So sometimes when you have all that fighting and fussing, you get a better end product. So I got no problem with the split.
There you go. Now, you won't weigh on QE? I mean, because you've seen the QE thing going on.
It seems to me that people want to vote on it. I think they ought to have a chance to vote on it. I'd like to see a little more solid plan for what's going to happen if it actually gets passed.
If that's coming through. And again, that's on the November ballot.
It is, but it's a bad time to spend money, and I've said there's going to be costs associated with consolidation, and it's just, I think that if Valdosta gets their new high school, that's going to address a lot of the inequities right there without having to consolidate. So I just think it's taking a risk. You're going to have unexpected costs, and with the economy like it is, it's a bad time to do that.
Let's just to wrap this up, Matt Flumerfelt, you're running, and this is just to back up so people know the seat we're talking about. Ben Norton currently has the seat. He's the guy who's been in there for 1 year. And, as I don't want to say as the interim guy, he went as a fully functioning city council member, but knew that, hey, this is coming up, so this is going to be for the standard 4-year term.
Yeah, this will be for the full term this time.
All right. And as you're doing this, how's the campaign, how you working this? You can't go door to door, I wouldn't think, in Valdosta, so how do you saturation bomb from the radio airwaves, or going to the events?
Yeah, radio, and I'm going to the events. Being an environmental guy, I'm not going to put out a bunch of ugly plastic signs on the road. I think that's tacky, but I'm going to take advantage of all the public speaking events that I can, and there's usually quite a lot of them.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to get out there real quick before we let you scoot out of here and resume the campaigning. Is there a website, email, phone number? People say, Matt Flumerfelt, let's give this guy, give him some information. How do they find out more about you? How do they contact you between now and November?
I do have an email address, mattflumerfelt@bellsouth.net.
Okay.
And you can contact me there. And I think my campaign's been very well received. A lot of people have said, wow, we're glad you're running. At least we feel like we have a choice this time. So
there you go. All right, Matt Flumerfelt for City Council at Large. That's the one. If you're listening to me right now, if you're in Valdosta, his name's going to be on your ballot. Wherever in the city you live, you're going to see his name.
And if you want to reach me, I'm usually down there playing trumpet in Benny's Alley.
Are you the trumpet guy?
I'm the Benny's Alley trumpeter.
It's like, yeah, remember? I've seen you down there too. Matt, thanks so much for coming through. We appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you, Frank.
Quick time out right now. Back with more in a moment. News Talk 105.9. This is WVGA.